Welcome to Gregorian Chat.
Welcome back
Welcome. How's it going, guys?
to the podcast, Gregorian Chat, the podcast where real Catholic banter never stops.
Yeah, and we just cast the pods, and you just receive them.
Like peas in a pod.
Yeah.
Hey, it's you might have noticed that we're in a slightly different location today.
What?
We are podcasting from my house
That's where he lives.
That's
He lives
right.
right here.
with the jasmine, and these flowers here are really quite nice actually. They're quite tangy, quite yum.
Vegan friendly.
Anyway, the topic of today's podcast is something that we've been wanting to talk about for a while. A lot of people have been asking us to do podcasts on the topic of relationships. Almost
Yeah.
every time we ask people, what do you want us to do a podcast on?
That's what comes up.
Relationships.
Yeah, that's what comes up.
So-
Probably because we're both happily married.
Probably because we're
So
like the
we've
relationship gurus.
We've succeeded at dating. We've leveled up.
That's one way of looking at it,
That's how I
for
look
sure.
at it. 100%.
So the topic of today's podcast is relationships. Should we have types? Right? So that may be a question that you've asked yourself. You know, what's my type?
Yes.
Maybe you've never thought of types. Maybe you operate 100% on types.
Maybe you prefer writing to typing, but we'll see.
Yeah. There are
Uh,
so many different puns that we could use for this podcast.
typing yourself down.
Typing yourself down. What are we
What-
drinking today, Dom?
We are drinking Jade Mountain.
Jade Mountain.
Now,
Yeah.
I haven't had this before, but apparently it's got some chocolatey notes. Apparently it's when I smelt it, I thought it smelled like licorice, which, as we learned from the last
reckon?
podcast, I don't like licorice, so I'm taking a leap. I'm taking a leap.
You're taking a leap down Jade Mountain.
Yeah, the licorice last week was pretty.
These mugs, by the way, were donated by Hobbiton last time we went there.
Directly to Gregorian Chat.
That's right. Well, actually Laura and I, but anyway, they're being procured for Gregorian Chat. So, what have you been up to, Dom? What have you been up to lately?
Well,
Because I've got quite a bit to tell you.
okay. Well, what have I been up to? Well, we're trying to get a Catholic club started at the Auckland University, the Auckland Catholic Tertiary Students. So I've been doing that today. You know, your Bible study. Been just wrestling with a few articles I had to write for the monthly newsletter at Newman Hall.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much been my life for the past week. What's happened to you?
Today I've been discharged from hospital.
I had discharged in
Auckland
hospital.
I had
Oh,
a
yeah.
discharge. No, I actually did. But so I had to go in for some minor surgery. It's better than major surgery, or just general surgery.
Oh, private surgery. Private care.
Yeah, no, I was in hospital. I had quite an experience in hospital. I was like in this room with these 4 old men, and I felt like an old man myself. To the right there was a guy called John, and he was
John,
he
what a guy.
stank. He stank so bad. You know, like that old man smell.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever smelt that, but like concentrate that by 100, and then put that right beside you in a cubicle, and that's what he smelled like. The guy parallel to me, he just couldn't stop burping. It was actually insane.
Well, like 24/7.
Yeah, like just burping all the time. And then the other dude, I think I accidentally ate his dinner. I got given 2 dinners. And I didn't even question them when they brought me a second dinner. I was just like, sweet. And then I heard the nurse questioning the other guy, and she's like, have you had dinner? He's like, no, I haven't had any dinner. I was like, felt a little bit bad. But anyway, been discharged.
Also a little bit good.
Thanks for your prayers if you did pray for me.
We did. In fact, Father Chris mentioned you at the end of Mass. Not at the beginning of Mass, at the end of Mass.
Oh,
So
so you didn't even offer up a mass for me?
we offered it up in retrospect, which you can totally do.
Retrospect. It's
Yeah.
like when you really respect a retro person.
Yeah.
But yeah, why don't we crack on to the topic? Just because it's so broad,
Yes.
and we could talk about it forever.
So, what is having a type, Dom? What is having a type?
Well,
I think we should start by defining it a bit.
this is a good question. So I think probably the best way I can describe it is just from what people have told me about saying, okay, in relationships, they have a certain kind of person that they're looking for.
Yes.
So usually they'll say, actually, there's no usually. That's the thing.
There is no usually.
It depends on the
There is no
person,
usually.
right? So I've had some friends who say, no, she needs to be sporty, she needs to be intelligent, she needs to be a good cook, things like that.
Where I've had people that said, preferably not intelligent, lazy,
Fat and-
yeah, they've not said that.
But I
But,
think
you know,
that's an
but
interesting point as well.
You have that. You have that idea of like, blonde hair, blue eyed. So like, oh, I want someone that's got like that, or
So you want the perfect German?
I want an Aryan race. No, so it's like say you want, I've heard typically from girls they're like, oh, I'd like someone that's taller than me, which was really difficult for me because I'm a very short human being. But yeah, I mean, it generally is attributes of a person, what they look like, maybe skin tones, eye color,
Hobbies.
yeah,
some
things like that. And so it's like I would never date anyone who does archery. It's just or that plays chess. I mean, gosh.
Yeah. Like I'd only date like a computer IT guy who like is an introvert.
Well,
and
actually,
loves crackers.
I heard someone the other day says like I would never date an extrovert, and it's like, oh, well, I'm married, so it's fine.
You're like, you can cross me off the list.
Yeah, for more than one reason. But yeah, so there's things like that. It's like having a preference to the person you would like to date / spend the rest of your life with. I would prefer it if they met this criteria first.
But I think types and usually the way that people use them and look at them is it kind of goes beyond preference, and people almost use types as this thing of like, I was made by God. Well, not even that, but like, just the way that I work, the way that my biology and my personality works is according to a type of person. So I mean, you met like a lot of, like you were saying, you met a guy who said his type is like Asian woman.
Yeah. So it's all like I'll only well he was looking out particularly for dating a Chinese girl. That's his in his mind, that's his ideal human being, and the relationship didn't work out. But he kept on trying to make it work, and I think sometimes the problem with types is you can get lost in them. It's kind of like you can meet the perfect person and not even realize, because it's like, yeah, but they're shorter than me, so it's not going to work out anyway.
I mean, Heidi Klum's Seal, right? Is it the one?
Yes, Heidi Klum, but they broke up, didn't they?
Yeah. So clearly,
Yeah.
she might have thought my type is
Not Seal.
big
Well,
African American men with scarred faces.
Obviously, he couldn't seal the deal.
Oh, come on, man.
He got a good hiding.
Uh,
So basically, with types, is I think there's a good side to it as well. Having a standard for yourself, like,
for sure.
I'm not just going to date the next person that walks in, or it's like, as long as they attend mass once a year,
Yeah. Yeah. So I think, you're onto a point here, which is that, there's a certain degree to which types or looking out for certain attributes of people is important. But I guess what we're wanting to address in this podcast is how, like, are types holding us back?
Yes.
Because I know a lot of people who I think, here's a great young, especially, Catholics. Here's a great young Catholic. Here's a great young Catholic. I reckon they'd make a great couple. I mean, I'm a chronic matchmaker, and I think this is what Father Chris described the other day. Is like, it's the disease of the newly married, is that they try and get everyone else to be happily married as well. But and so but often we'll say, oh no, and they'll kind of discount this person because, oh no, they're not my type. So I guess it'd probably be most helpful if we just give some of our personal experiences. Man, you hear that, Tui? God's nature. Because for me, I can give my story. Was like with Laura, who's Eurasian, so she's like Kiwi, as in grew up in New Zealand, but from Malaysian, kind of Chinese, Punjab heritage, and I, growing up like in a small town of Nelson, was saying to this to her at lunch actually, like I wouldn't have thought of myself as, oh, that's my type of person. My kind of girl is going to be an Asian, Eurasian girl, who can, play violin and do these things and whatever. But the thing is, like, I feel like Laura is the perfect person for me. But that wasn't something that I necessarily knew from the moment I met her. Right. Which is kind of like what typing does in a lot of a lot of the time, is people will be like, oh, I wouldn't even try and go there because it's not my type.
Exactly.
Right, so I never really imagined myself being, and this is just straight up honesty, like with an Asian person, and that's not because I had a bias. No, this is not because I had a bias against Asian people. It's just that the Asian world is there's so much in it, and I never felt like I had a way into it, so I could never quite understand it. But now that I've been married to Laura and we've been over to Malaysia, and I eat a lot of Asian food now and whatever. And it's
makes killer dumplings.
This is the thing, man, and I just feel like it's like it's something I wasn't even looking out for. But I mean, what about you and Jess? Like, in terms of when you met her, did you think like she's...
Well, actually, no, because like the community we were both part of, it's kind of, the idea was you wouldn't start a relationship. So I even remember her saying, like, in retrospect, she said, remember saying, it's so good that I'm not attracted to any of the guys here, me included. In fact, I found out later she actually thought I was one of the worst looking. But we won't go into that or dwell on it at all.
Oh man, you were just like a speck of dust.
Yeah, it's like...
The pun.
Speck. Anyway, we're moving on. So she was like happily unattracted to me for the first 2 seconds. No, and like on paper, it doesn't. Me and Jess being together doesn't make sense. Like, she's beautiful and wonderful and tidy and intelligent, and I'm none of those things.
Well, she's a massive like introvert, right?
Yeah, well, she's not massive.
Well, she's about as short as you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
She's like, her comfort zone is in her pajamas on the sofa
with
watching
bananas,
Netflix,
coming down the stairs,
like that, which I can do for like one episode or so. But like, I need to go out and do stuff, and Jess enjoys doing that. But like, it's not her comfort zone, so. We're completely different in certain ways, and I suppose if I were to put it into a type, it's all like, looking at Jess's personality, characteristics, I'd be like, yeah, probably wouldn't, I wouldn't have said like it would work, but like, it does work. We were married, happily married for 3 years, getting on 4 years now.
Yeah.
So I mean, we need to look at our types,
That's
and
right.
it's good to have a standard, and that's not what we're getting at, but what we're getting at is looking at what is limiting ourselves.
That's right.
Doing, saying, okay, there's a lot of people out there, and I'm not going to get to know certain people because of X, Y, Z.
And I think it was what I've been thinking about in relation to this topic. I was thinking about this over lunch, and I guess first of all in this podcast we'll say, like, when you're looking for types, it should be pretty obvious that you've done your discernment, right? At this point, if you're looking to start dating, hopefully, I mean, not always. Sometimes you can do a bit of dating before you've even discerned. Some people recommend that. But let's just say if you've done your discernment, right, and you think you're called to marriage, I think one of the most important things, if you're looking at like knowing what your type is, well, you have to know who you are.
Yes.
Right. It's like, because what's the good in actually knowing and exactly who the person that you need to be with is, if you actually don't know, why it is you need to be with them.
Yes.
So it's about understanding ourselves as well, first of all. So I guess I'd say, are you having trouble finding the right person for you? Well, then I guess first of all, the first step is like, okay, let's just do a little bit more analysis. I can't say the words right. Sorry. Freudian slip.
You do a bit more like self-reflecting. I think it's a very Catholic concept actually. There's always that like kind of like oxymoronness of Catholicism, which is like, if you want to pray best, the best way to pray is by being silent. So in fact, not praying. The best way to convert somebody else is to first convert yourself. And again, it's about engaging with what we have in front of us,
not just getting engaged.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you want to get engaged, you got to engage first with God and yourself. And it's good to have these ideas of like, right, I'm not going to date a guy who's not a Catholic. Fair enough, you shouldn't flirt to convert or anything. But what you should be doing is you should be being attuned to the things that are happening in your life. What is God calling to you in like the smaller vocations, which is like, do you get a lot out of fitness? Do you get a lot out of serving others? Do you get a lot out of music? And really engaging with those, because if that's where God wants you and he wants you to get married, you will find your person in that place.
That's right. And the thing is, like, you might be looking for a type of person that you think is good for you because I like music, so if I look for someone who's into music, then we'll get along really well. And I like all these other things, and they like all those things. But ask anyone who's married, like a lot of the time, it's opposites attract. And not necessarily in every respect. Like Laura and I both really love food and music and stuff like that, and some exercise, but we definitely have points of difference.
Yes.
And so it's like there's definitely got to be room for leaving it flexible.
Yes.
Because otherwise, basically what we're doing is we're writing up a chart with the perfect measurements for the perfect spouse, and taking it around and trying to fit. You might find out, going on a date and you're trying to fit that person into that category and think, he's such a nice guy, but, like he writes with his left hand and I need a right-hander. Or, like he wipes with his left hand. Or just little things.
How you know that would be a different story altogether. Interesting first date, though. Anyway, moving on. So...
You would be moving on from that first date.
I think, there is that feeling, and you mentioned it a bit before, so like, there's that pressure of like, if I date this person, I'm going to have to marry them, because there's that idea of like, if you're not dating to marry, what are you dating for? Now there is a truth in that, but I think we do need to put ourselves out there, and that idea of engaging with our environment, engaging with the people in our environment, and doing things that you enjoy with those people. That's essentially what dating is. It's kind of like, actually, I prefer hanging out with you than other people. Let's go and do something I enjoy together. And that would be a date, but like getting to know people is essential. Like going out on, intentionally dating. Say, okay, I enjoy spending time with you. Let's go and do something I do. Let's do something you enjoy, and then get to know each other more. But rather, and then you get to a point where that becomes exclusive, and then you start discerning the relationship.
That's right.
But you don't want to get to that point where it's kind of like, it's been a couple of months now, and I guess we're comfortable, so we'll stay here. And neither of you want to be married to each other, but it's getting on years now, and so you might as well. And
so it's definitely like there shouldn't be that pressure from the beginning of thinking, no, this person, it's all or nothing kind of mentality. But we should be sensible about it. So it's like I think we need to make a separation between, I guess, what you'd call like types from people's attributes and actual qualities of the person, right? So their character as a person.
Yes.
So it's like you could meet if you're looking for someone first and foremost who's, you might be saying someone who's honest. Okay, that might be your biggest kind of thing that's what you need in your life, because for whatever reason. Now you can find an honest guy who's like a short Italian man who does IT, or a tall German wrestler, and you might actually you're actually going to fall in love with that person more by finding those big attributes, I think.
Yes,
it's that honesty and those things like that. In saying that, like, attraction is important. And this might even be another podcast I think we'll have to do.
Definitely.
But it's not just about the physical attraction. Like, I think physical attraction actually goes hand in hand with what your lifestyle is a lot of the time. So let's say you meet, people say, it shouldn't matter how heavy the person is, if they're fat or whatever. But it's like, to be honest, if somebody is obese and it's not for like a genetic reason, then it's like, well, that kind of indicates what their lifestyle is. They have a certain kind of lifestyle that maybe they don't put so much emphasis on their health.
And if you're the kind of guy that would like to, run up, Mount Maunganui as a hobby, it's kind of like, well, that person's not going to be able to join you in that. However, if that person doesn't want to join you in, rubbing up Mount Maunganui, however, when you get down to the bottom of the hill, you've got a good friend that you love to spend the evening with and spend that time just in conversation with. That's the characteristics basically I think you want to think about what you're going to be spending most of your time doing with your spouse. Are you going to be running up mountains together, or are you going to be planning a life, building a home, having children, and having those things in mind? Is like, what will I be doing in those environments? It's like, I might go running a lot, but that's my thing, and she might love painting, and I can't put two colours together, but you don't have to be the same.
That's right.
Similarities help, but sometimes opposites attract.
That's right. Just the video's going to turn off in a second, but just keep listening, because we'll keep recording on the microphone, because I think there's just a few more things we could probably say, and you guys might be wondering, so like, what is the most important thing that we really should be looking for, so if we say, like, do they have to be Catholic, Dom? This is maybe a question I'd pose to you now, and it might even be another podcast, but I guess
Yes,
more of a quick answer now. Like, when I'm looking for the type of person, should the number one thing be that they're Catholic?
Well, I mean, this is a tough one. We were talking about the chaplains the other day. It's like Catholicism deals with ideals, and ideally, you'll find a Catholic person, and if you're going to spend the rest of your life with someone, it's going to be a Catholic person, because that's going to be a big part of your life. However, if you meet someone that you fall in love with, I think as long as this person isn't, opposed, like drastically opposed to Catholicism, you've got to make room for them in your life, and don't just brush them off.
Don't just brush them off.
So that's how I would answer that question. So ideally, you would have a Catholic, but if you're looking for someone to marry, go for a Catholic. But if you've fallen in love with someone that isn't a Catholic, as long as they're not like, you're never going to church as long as we're married.
Yeah, I think it depends on what you've kind of discerned your vocation to be as well. Like, you might discern that your vocation is to be in Catholic ministry, for your life, and in that sense, it's like, well, maybe it's more important then for you to try and be with someone who's Catholic. But like you said, you can't. Sometimes you got to leave these things up to the Lord.
Yes.
And of course, you should never marry somebody just in the hopes that they're going to change, who they are. And something else, I guess, like, there's so much you could say on this topic, but when you're thinking about types, right? And a lot of people will say, oh, well, if I say, why don't you date that girl? She's a lovely young Catholic girl, and they say, well, she's not my type. And I go, okay, well, what is your type? Oh, a girl who's sporty and, has long brown hair, usually brunette, and likes photography. And it's like, okay, well, why do you think that's your type? Oh, well, because all the girls that I've been attracted to and dated in the past are girls like that. And it's like, okay, well, think about that for a second. All the girls or guys that you've dated in the past that you have been in relationships with that have ended, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, obviously, if that relationship has ended, then something hasn't quite been right.
Yes.
So you obviously don't quite know your type.
Yes.
And that's like what I find is the biggest contradiction of this.
Yeah, and I think the whole
typism.
thing with dating completely is sometimes it's putting yourself out there and going outside your comfort zone. It's like, the simple one is like, if you're always going to 11 a.m. mass, go to 8, go to 7, go to 4:30, go to a different mass to meet different people.
That's right.
If you're always going to this one bar with the same friends, go to a different bar with a different group of friends.
That's right.
It's like, you need to, you need to be active in it. You need to be,
That's right.
like, trying to put yourself in situations where you might meet other people.
And that's especially important because, you hear people saying, oh, life is so hard, I can't find myself someone to be with. I mean, it's easy enough for us to say that now that we're married, but, we hear a lot of people who are kind of getting older and they say, there's no one left, there's no good young Catholic people. And it's like, okay, well, you're not actually necessarily doing anything to make your life more appealing. Because if you want to find a life partner, you're going to need to find someone who's attracted not just to you physically as a person or even to your personality, but they're attracted to the lifestyle that you lead. Because, ultimately when you get married, what happens is two lifestyles become one lifestyle.
Yes.
Okay, so it's like, it's actually something that's maybe overrated, I think, underrated, sorry. That people kind of think, oh, well, it's not that important, it's more important that you love the person.
Yeah.
And for who they are. But it's like, you've got to think about these things practically as well. You kind of think, is my life am I happy with my life right now, and would I even want to invite someone else into it?
Yeah, so it's about like sorting yourself out and getting to know what are my likes and dislikes. Like, I've always told myself that I love music, but actually I don't listen to it that much. I've always told myself that I'm an artist, but I don't want to spend time painting and drawing and stuff. I'd rather, do something else. So, I mean, if you're, like, in a rut, try a different hobby. Try something new. And, again, that's a way of meeting people, but it's also a way of getting to know yourself better. There's also this idea of, like, go and travel. Explore yourself. Find yourself. It's like, that's a really expensive way of doing it. But, I mean, you can also just, like, just try it, go to a cooking class, for crying out loud. It's simple things.
Well, you can go to a cooking class that isn't just for crying out loud.
Yeah.
For other things like making good food.
Yeah.
But there's definitely I guess some truth just in saying that. It's like, you need to get around, you need to get out, and if you're just at home all the time.
Yeah,
I mean it's different for different people depending on whether you're an extrovert or an introvert.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I guess what we could say is, like, as Catholics, it shouldn't just be about looks, things like that, but it also shouldn't just be about faith.
Yes.
You know, it needs to be about more of the surrounding things as well.
It's a balance.
Yeah,
It's a
there
balance.
has to be a balance.
It's about making yourself ready for a relationship, and finding a person that is in relation to who you are.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, man, we could talk about this for so long. I feel like we could just go on and on and on.
Right, yeah. Well, I think should we cut it there and we'll do another podcast on like more dating things later.
How about that?
Okay.
Hey, before you guys go, check out this photo here. This is Dom and I in Auckland Hospital. Dom came to visit me, and I took a selfie just before I got my surgery. It's quite a special moment.
Yeah, and
in Gregorian chat history.
Yes, and don't forget to like, subscribe, share. And there's this app for all you Android users out there called Player FM. Type in Gregorian chat into there, and you'll find us. You can watch us on your phone.
So Player?
It's a Player FM. Player FM.
As in, like, I'm a player?
FM Player?
Maybe just check that, because there are so many people who are probably just waiting with bated breath.
It is Player, Player FM. So if you don't have an iPhone, you can still listen to us on your phone. But thank you very much for listening to us.
Yep.
God bless.
Kia ora.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe.
Make sure that you check us out on our YouTube channel, Auckland Catholic Tertiary Chaplaincy.
You can also find us on Facebook, Facebook.com/The Chaplains.
And our Instagram account, which is Auckland Catholic Chaplaincy.
We're also now on iTunes. Just search up Gregorian Chat.
Boom.
That's right.
Thanks for listening.
God bless.